Hey guys, Trunk here from Hypoxic, and today I'm going to show you how to install a cookie roller mount on a G4. It's doable, it's a little bit more time consuming than the G3, only because we have to remove the liner, and on some smaller shell sizes, we may have to modify the actual mounts just a tad. So in order to do this, what we're going to need is we're going to want some rubbing alcohol. We're going to want our roller mount, okay? Probably I like using a towel just to rest my helmet on when I'm working it. You may need a fork, and I'll show you what that is for later. A paper towel and a Sharpie to clean off the Sharpie's mark later. I like using a reamer bit, but a small little pilot drill bit and a like 3/16 drill bit will work, or an M4 I think it is for you metric guys. I always like having a knife or a scalpel around. Depending on the shell size, we may need to tweak the mount just slightly. So if you're a filing person, we'll just want like a little file, okay? Because we're just gonna sand this down just a tad. Or we could get a little bit of foam, like I get this from Michael's, and cut down a little spacer, okay? Or we could just use a little bit of, I have like some nylon washers that I had. You can use that, but that'll leave just a slight little gap. So depending on which way you want to do that, is what you're gonna need there. Anyway, so pay attention and I'll show you how to install this. So now we want to figure out where this plate, the mounting bracket, lives, okay? We want it approximately 12 centimeters from the lip here, 12, and that's to the lip here, okay? And to do that, we're going to use our tape, and I like to use a Sharpie. So we're going to go. And I like to just straddle this piece, okay? And I like to put it right on the center line of this piece right here, okay? So you can see it's roughly in the center line of right here. We're gonna go all the way up to the back vent, okay? So if you're looking at this, you're like, oh wow, that's not square at all. Okay, you're right, it isn't square. Okay, we're gonna go, and we need to go the furthest it's gonna be, the longest it's gonna be, and that's about right, about here, okay? So I am going to go and mark from 19 here. I'm going to add 12, so it's going to be 31. I'm going to place a mark right at 31 here. Okay. Now you're like, now we can take a look and see that center. Okay. It looks pretty centered to me, but if we want to, we can go and double check. We got these screws on our side panels. Okay. And all we do is we go and take that and we measure it across that point, that dot that we just made, okay? That's roughly 30 and a half. So we're about right there. It's gonna be a little bit, it's about 2 millimeters shy. So really this is the center point right there, okay? So now that I have that point right there, there's an arrow on this that faces the front. It's gonna square itself up on the roundness of the helmet, okay? So we're gonna mark a dot there and mark a dot there. So now that we got the two holes, we're ready to drill, aren't we? No, we got the liner still in there, so we're gonna have to pull the liner back in order to create a recess. Now, luckily, there's a recess in the foam. Okay, so I'll show you how to take that out. So now for the new part on the G4. Okay, we're gonna want to remove our face shield. That's gonna make our lives a lot easier. So to do that, we just need a screwdriver, Phillips head. Notice there is now a little recess on the plate, and that's for the spring, okay? That's for this little spring cup, and that's how it locks on there. When we replace that, we're gonna wanna make sure that's inside of that, okay? And this is also why I like the towel. I don't like rubbing my helmet against like hard surface here. I like to have it on something nice and soft. And the nice thing about this at this point is the shield just slides off, okay? That's all. Very easy, okay. So now, first step is to take off this top liner, okay? We're not gonna take off the whole liner because it's honestly a pain in the butt and there's a lot of tricks to it. So I like to start from one side. I'm just gonna start here. And on the bottom, right here, right around here, is our first clip that we're gonna take out, okay? So right, you see that right there, okay? And maybe you can see it better. Okay, that's just, we're gonna pull that out, okay? And then we're gonna slowly slide this out all the way around, okay, until it gets to the other side. Okay. Now, if this helmet's been taken apart once or twice, so it's a little bit easier, your helmet may be different, okay? So at this point, all we're gonna do is we're gonna pull this liner and we're gonna pull it forward, okay? So now we want to take out this plate here, all right, this little recess of the EPP foam, okay? And to do that, there's a little handhold right down there that we're gonna have to grasp and pull it out. It is difficult, okay? You grab underneath here and you gotta yank it for a while. If you wanted to, you can grab like a fork or something like that and slide it underneath it, but it's you gotta be super, super careful. And as we're already drilling the top of the helmet, you're already avoiding the warranty. If you do use something like a fork or something like that, make sure that you're not puncturing the EPP, okay? And you're just kind of sliding underneath it. So let me see if I can't get a good photo of what I would do. You kind of want to slide it underneath it and not puncture the EPP. We're using it kind of like as a spatula, okay? Okay, so we're pulling it out. So now I got the EPP pulling out a little bit, and then all we're gonna do is pull it in. So now we're ready to actually drill the helmet. With the ABS plastic, we're gonna go slow. We're not gonna crack it, but just go slow, okay? So I'm just gonna go and drill the start of it. Right, here goes nothing. Just slowly drill it. The other option is, I like to use the reamer bits. You don't need a pilot hole in this. Alright. Okay, now that we have the holes drilled, now we want to mount our plates. Now, like I said earlier, there's an issue with some of these helmets. The smaller helmets, they do not quite sit flush because of the curvature of it. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try and make a spacer. Now, like I said, we could use some nylon washers, or we could file it down, okay? Or we could make a little spacer. I suggest making a little spacer. So I made this already out of foam. All we're going to do is take our mount, put the spacer on there. Made this out of foam. And we're going to place it right over the holes. Okay. So now let's put the mount on now that we have a spacer on there. Okay. So arrow goes forward. Okay. We grab our screws. Bolts. Now Cookie has a really nice thing on these. They have what they call a dog bone. Okay, that's this piece. The nice thing about the dog bone is once we place it there, we can remove this mount, and with the foam pressing up against it, we can reattach this whenever we want to. So if you're flying a tunnel, you can take this mount off and then put it back on. So anyways, I take that dog bone, I put this flat part goes up towards the top of the helmet, put that on there. So you may ask me why we needed to do that. We needed to do that because if we don't put the washers on, or the foam, this part is going to bend too much to the curvature of this helmet on the smaller sizes, and we're not going to be able to get this bolt all the way through, okay? And we're going to be able to actually mount this. So let's do that. Let's do that right now. Put a camera front. If you notice the markings go on this side. Let's put the receiver right here. It's kind of nicer to kind of push that through. If you need to at this point, what you can do is grab something and kind of pull it up into the bolt, up into the hole a little bit. Every once in a while with this, just because it's curved a little bit, you may need to do that. Now we have it mounted, it's time to put the liner back in, okay? But first we need to put this foam insert back in. Notice that there's this little tab. That's going to go towards the front of the helmet, slide in, and then press back down, okay? The tab's going to go in first, and then it's just going to press down, okay? Boop. Okay, press all the way down, seat it back into place. Now for this, we want to do a two-step process, okay? We want to first get the tabs back in place, and then we're going to set it. So, take your time. I'm going to start with any side, and I want to start by putting this tab into above the dinner pocket, okay? So let's do that now. It's going to go underneath that EPP foam, okay? We're just going to slide it into there, okay? And then we're going to slowly want to work up the helmet, okay? And we don't want to seat it, but we want to kind of get it aligned first. So we're just going to go around the helmet, get this aligned, and then once it's all in place, then we're going to seat it, okay? So as we go around, we're going to kind of work our way around from the one side to the next. And we're just going to get it in that spot in between the helmet, in between the EPP foam and the, there you go, okay. So before I set it, I want to put the other side's dinner pocket back in. Okay. So you go up. There. Okay, so set that fully. And then at this point, I just want to go ahead and just seat it all the way in, okay. There we go. Now we're going to put the shield back on, okay? Go to the face shield. It just slides all the way in. We want to make sure that we put it against that little latch, okay? And then we want to seat it all the way in. Now these things are asymmetric. They only fit one way. We want to look at that locking tab. The tab needs to go into there. So in this case, this is the right one. Okay, put that tab on top of that, okay? So voila, my G4 helmet with a G3 cookie roller mount. I would suggest lining this in the mirror or having a friend to set the pitch of your GoPro. Definitely do it in the mirror first. A lot of people, if you do it by sight, you're gonna be wrong. The other thing is on these wrenches, I like to keep them in a little baggie in the extra dinner pocket. So I put them in a little bag, stuff them in the dinner pocket I'm not using, make sure it doesn't have a chance of impaling me, but that's where I like to store these because if you have to fly the tunnel or something like that, you can take this off and that dog bone is going to be right in place so you can put this back on without having to take out the line and everything like that. So thank you for watching and I will see you guys at the drop zone. Take care.